Well, I have here the Z Flip 3, but there's one thing that you'll find in common with the Z Flip 3 that you will with the Z Flip 4, and it is the same level of disappointment. No DeX. And you would be surprised exactly how much time I had to waste out of my day today to try and find that out. I watched no less than about 7 Z Flip 4 videos, and I read at least probably 5 to 10 articles before I had to deduce for myself from some omitted specs on a spec sheet that I found on one webpage, there is no DeX. And it's very confusing to me because I watch very prominent YouTube videos, and this is not a ding to them, but I think also it goes to show maybe there's just not an expectation here. And the expectation, I think, should be there. Not so much that people look at this as a productivity device, which clearly I don't think people do, but Samsung is trying to make the Z Flip 4 more useful, especially in flex mode, to the tune of now you can even do some navigation with the bottom screen while you have apps partitioned on the upper screen. So when you take a look at it, I can only imagine that if you have the Z Flip open, that if you wanted to use the touch screen on the bottom, that would make a really nice mouse. I could see there being some ways that you could use this where it would actually make DeX better. Now, I understand the reason why the Z Flip 3 and previously did not have it. For one portion, because the connector for the USB-C did not support it with the USB 2.0. Now, I think maybe still it's USB 2.0, but regardless, you know what, there are other phones, other flagship phones that have DeX, they do it wirelessly. So you can completely toss the USB-C argument out the window, USB 2.0, whatever. Wirelessly, it should still do it. If you want to go down the laundry list of devices that have DeX, even the Samsung Galaxy Tab S5e and Tab S4 have wired DeX. If you want to talk about the A90 5G, an A-series phone, has DeX. Why wouldn't they include it on here? Why would you not want this phone to have DeX? It doesn't make any sense because DeX is supposed to be something that's convenient, easy to use, desktop mode on the go, connect it, use it for presentations, lots of different things. And with the other phones, you could even use DeX while it's plugged in. You could have the phone plugged in, charging, use DeX wirelessly. So I don't know why they continue to do this, other than they try to make the Flip a more fashionable phone, a more commuter-friendly phone, a convenience phone. And there are some arguments saying where people say, well, they put DeX in the flagships. Come on, the Tab S6 Lite has DeX, for Pete's sake. So I don't want to really hear that type of an argument. It seems like a very frivolous omission in the Z Flip world, where, granted, even before, 3300 milliamp battery wasn't the greatest in the world. I could imagine that if you're using it, it probably heats up quickly and it probably drains the battery. But at least a feature I think should still be there. That should be an owner decision. That should be an individual operator preference. I don't see that it's really hurting the phone to put it in there. It really seems like a software choice. Even if you want to take out the whole USB argument, saying that the hardware is not capable of it, wirelessly, it should still work. And I think wirelessly might even be the best way for it to work, because you could still have it plugged in. And then you're using it wirelessly, you could just continue to use the bottom portion or any portion of the screen as a mouse, just like you can with the Fold. So I don't know. And it's very frustrating. I don't know if Samsung put out something saying, hey, don't talk about this. Like, don't say anything about this in your individual, like your first upfront video, which wouldn't put it behind them. I know that there are companies that say, look, don't highlight this stuff in your first look. I've seen those embargo requirements before. I'm not saying that that's something that's been applied here, because I certainly don't want to question anybody's integrity. That's not what I'm here for. But it just seems very odd to me that I would have to watch so many videos and look at so many articles, and I can either say negligence, I could say lack of importance, or that's just not what the phone is designed for, so people don't talk about it. I mean, if they didn't have DeX in the Z Flip, the Z Flip 5G, the Z Flip 3, why would you talk about it in the 4? But it was talked about in the Z Flip 3, and a lot of people said, oh, there's no DeX here. There really should be. I really feel like there should be. We can have this conversation down in the comments, and maybe this is one of those things. The phone is perfectly capable of it. I mean, it really is. There's no reason why it isn't, other than just by design they didn't put it in there. And this could go the same way with the argument that I had yesterday with the Pixel 6a, with the people who seem to be able to enable a 90 hertz and possibly even 120 hertz refresh rate. Phone economics. People aren't necessarily going out to go buy the Z Flip 3 or the Z Flip 4 to try and get DeX. That's something they want, especially on the S22, the S22 Ultra, the Z Fold, phones that are much more marketed towards being a multitasking, more powerhouse workhorse device. So maybe it would undercut some of the sales if you knew you could get a Z Flip 4 instead of going out and buying a Z Fold. I'm sure that would only dissuade like 8 people. Because really, you're either a flip person, you're a fold person, or you're both. I carry both of them sometimes. I thought it was a lot of fun to carry around the Z Flip 3 and the Z Fold 3. But, especially in this work from home era, everything that we've been through in the last 2 years, we know that we need more capabilities on the go than we do not. So it would honestly seem like a great idea to go ahead and have that inclusion on the Z Flip 4. So very frustrating, very annoying having to track that down. And that's why I really hate seeing reviews that say everything you need to know. One, it's an over-exaggeration. Like, it's complete hyperbole. It's not everything you need to know. Never is, because even if they put 99% of the stuff, it's still missing. That's something that happened a couple years ago, and they're like, oh, instead of calling it a review, we'll say everything you need to know, and then we'll say review. I find that a bit disingenuous, and I hope that I've never done that in one of my titles before, because I'd really be calling my own self out. But I try to avoid stuff like that. I try to be as inclusive as possible with the information. There's stuff I forget to mention all the time. There is. I don't script anything. I sit here, I have an idea, I talk. That's how I roll. And I know some people do script. I know some people are much more calculated with the words they choose and how they do things. When I talk, you get everything fresh off the top of my head, just as if I were having a conversation with you in real life. Good, bad, or indifferent. I know some people don't like it. I know some people do like it. This is me. And yeah, I find it frustrating that there's just no information out there talking about DeX for this phone. And again, it's either through omission, it's by design, or it's because it's just not been on the previous phone, so what's the expectation? If you never used it, why would you expect it to be here? But you would have to think that moving forward at some point in time, they really need to address that, or at least say why they don't put it in the Flip, because it's in the S22 series, the FE series, the Lite series, the A90 series. I mean, there's an A series phone that has DeX. Why wouldn't the Z Flip 4? Anyway, so that's all I got for this video. What do you think? Do you think that it's a big deal that there's no DeX? Do you think that I'm just sitting here blowing smoke and I'm upset about nothing? Which, hey, to each their own. I'm sure there's somebody that looks at the Z Flip and says, no, sir. No, that doesn't need DeX. I think it does. And I always argue for inclusion versus exclusion, because it's always better for the individual to decide what he or she should not use instead of the manufacturer. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, please go down to the comment section and I will get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, if you found this helpful, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thank you for taking the time out of your day, the hours and minutes of your life to watch these videos and support my channel. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you come back, and I'll see you guys next time.